Most gardeners make the same critical mistake in the middle of summer. They overwater stressed plants or pile on synthetic fertilizer, thinking that will save them. What actually happens is that the soil's microbial life gets disrupted, roots suffocate, and plants weaken even faster. I've watched tomato vines collapse and leafy greens turn limp because people ignore the one thing that actually revives a plant: active, living nutrients delivered in a form the plant can absorb immediately. That's where fermented kitchen scrap tea comes in, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to make it and use it so your dying crops can bounce back within 24 hours. If you care about serious gardening results, subscribe now, because the techniques I'm sharing aren't fluff. They're tested in real raised beds, backyard gardens, and even hydroponic setups. Before we dive in, one tool I personally rely on for tracking compost activity is the RioTemp 36-inch Fahrenheit Backyard Pro Compost Thermometer with digital composting guide. It ensures your kitchen scraps ferment at the right temperatures to produce a potent tea. The link is in the description if you want one for your garden. This isn't a gimmick. It actually makes a difference in how effective your tea will be. The biggest mistake gardeners make is assuming all scraps are equal. Not all kitchen waste will create a useful fermented tea. Tossing meat, dairy, or oily leftovers into your compost is a recipe for pests, anaerobic smells, and inconsistent results. The best ingredients are vegetables, fruit peelings, herb trimmings, coffee grounds, and crushed eggshells. I aim for a roughly 2/3 greens to 1/3 browns ratio. Greens are nitrogen-rich and fuel microbial activity, while browns add structure and prevent the mixture from turning into smelly sludge. Skip the careful balance and your miracle tea can end up harming plants instead of helping them. Chop your scraps for faster fermentation and better extraction. Finer pieces decompose faster, which means the microbes can do their job quickly. I cut carrot tops, potato peelings, and apple cores into roughly 2-inch pieces before adding them to the fermentation container. In small backyard gardens, a 5-gallon bucket works perfectly. For larger raised beds or multiple hydroponic tanks, you might scale up to 20 gallons, keeping the ratios consistent. The key is to maximize surface area for the microbes without making a paste. Overly pureed scraps can create anaerobic pockets that encourage harmful bacteria. Fermentation is about timing and temperature. This is where most gardeners go wrong. You can't just dump scraps into water and expect a potent tea to form. Fermentation works best in warm, oxygen-controlled conditions. I use the RioTemp thermometer to track temperatures in my compost pile. Ideally, the pile holding your scraps should sit at around 120 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit to encourage beneficial microbial growth. Once you transfer the chopped scraps to a fermentation bucket with water, cover it loosely and let it sit for 24 to 48 hours, stirring at least once every 12 hours to oxygenate the mix. You'll know it's ready when the mixture has a strong earthy smell, not sour or rotten. This is the live, active tea your plants need. Here's how to brew the tea with the right ratios. Use 1 gallon of fermented compost scraps for every 5 gallons of water. In smaller raised beds, I typically pour a gallon or 2 of this diluted tea around the base of each plant. This is enough to soak the root zone without overwhelming it. For foliar application, a spray bottle or garden pump sprayer works well. Apply early in the morning or late afternoon to avoid sun scorch and give microbes a chance to colonize leaf surfaces. In hydroponic systems, I scale down to roughly a cup of fermented tea per 5 gallons of nutrient solution, since the concentration of microbes is high and overloading can upset the balance. Using this tea consistently turns your garden into a self-healing system. Don't treat this as a one-time miracle. The real power comes from regularly feeding plants with live microbial tea. Every 7 to 10 days during stressful summer months, I apply the tea directly to soil or as a foliar spray. Tomatoes, peppers, beans, and leafy greens respond incredibly quickly. Yellowing leaves regain color, wilted stems firm up, and blossoms that were dropping suddenly start producing fruit again. Hydroponic systems see improved root density and nutrient absorption within a day. So let's talk about some common myths about compost teas you really need to forget. Some gardeners insist that any tea will work, even if you skip proper fermentation or monitoring. But honestly, that's just not true. A tea brewed from immature scraps or cold compost? Well, it produces weak results, and worse, can even harbor harmful microbes. Now, others might assume that synthetic fertilizers can just replace microbial tea. Sure, they can provide nutrients pretty fast, but they don't restore soil life. Your plants might green up for a bit, but they'll stay vulnerable to stress, pests, and disease. From my own experience, I can tell you that investing in proper fermentation and maintaining microbial balance consistently beats chemical fixes, both in terms of yield and plant resilience. Here are some practical tips for success, whether you're working with a small garden-raised beds or even hydroponics. In my own backyard garden, I like to keep a 5-gallon bucket handy for weekly kitchen scraps. I chop everything up, add dechlorinated water, and let it ferment for about 24 to 48 hours. Then I apply the mixture directly to the base of my plants, and I'll also give them a light foliar spray. When I'm working with raised beds, I just scale up, using 10 to 20 gallons of tea across 20 to 30 plants, making sure I get even coverage along all the root zones. Now, for hydroponic growers, you'll want to use the tea sparingly. A cup per tank is usually enough to keep microbial life high and roots healthy, since adding too much can throw off the nutrient balance. And by the way, tracking your compost temperature is key to making sure every batch has the same potency. So, why does this actually work better than those store-bought solutions? Well, the reason fermented kitchen scrap tea works is pretty simple. It's alive. The microbes in the tea convert nutrients into forms that your plants can absorb right away, while also suppressing pathogens, improving root function, and gradually enhancing your soil structure. Store-bought liquid fertilizers might feed the leaves for a little while, but they don't restore the microbial balance or provide that same enzymatic and nutrient complexity. In my experience, a well-prepared tea gives you visible results in just a day, while synthetic options might take weeks to even show partial improvement. Let's talk troubleshooting. If your tea smells sour or rotten, that usually means anaerobic bacteria have taken over. To fix this, reduce the green to brown ratio or increase your stirring and aeration. If you notice leaf burn after applying the tea, just dilute it more. Concentration definitely matters. Always keep your fermentation containers covered, but not airtight, and never use scraps that contain meat or dairy. And don't forget to check your compost temperature. Even small changes can really affect microbial activity. To sum it up, collect the right kitchen scraps, chop them up finely, ferment under monitored temperature conditions, brew at the correct ratios, and apply consistently to plants that are stressed. If you follow these steps, you might just see your dying summer crops bounce back within 24 hours. At the end of the day, this is about more than just quick fixes. It's about building healthy soil, growing resilient plants, and creating a self-sustaining garden system. Over time, this approach helps you cut back on synthetic inputs and transforms your raised beds, backyard garden, or hydroponic setup into a thriving ecosystem. So if you want your plants to not just survive, but actually thrive this summer, go ahead and subscribe to the Husbandry channel. I share practical tested methods like this that serious gardeners can really rely on, not just theoretical tips. And, hey, share this video with any friends who struggle to keep their crops alive in the summer heat. Also, check the description for the RioTemp 36-inch Fahrenheit Backyard Pro Compost Thermometer with digital composting guide. It's the tool I trust to make sure every batch of fermented tea is at its peak strength. Let's grow better food the smart way.